this morning. How many of you were here this morning at one time or another or last night? Okay, great. How many of you you're new to me and this is unfortunate? Unfortunate for you, not for me. This is going to be great. It's good to see you. All right, good. So let's see. This morning, we talked about the will of God. Tonight, we're going to talk about the mystery of the human heart. And those two things are very connected for us in our work, and we're excited to talk about it a little bit with you. In the book of Romans, Paul has this fantastic thing, and I don't usually just lead off with scripture, but it's one of the most prolific statements about the human spirit that I've ever read and really has ever been written in the history of humanity. And Paul says this, he says, the things that I don't want to do, I do. And the things that I do, I don't want to do. Right? And what's amazing about that is through thousands of years of history, that totally resonates with me, doesn't it with you? Have you ever had that moment when you did something and you don't know why you did it? Yeah. Right? It's just like, why did I do that? So I wasn't planning on telling this story, but my sister how old were you when you got baptized? You remember? 8 or 6, something like that? Okay, great. So she got baptized. She's like probably, if you were 8, then that means I was 6. If you were 6, I was 4. I think I was probably 6, right? Okay. So she got baptized, and we had like this little tradition, like it's kind of a conservative church where she was all dressed up in her little pink dress and little things and the deals. It was great. And then we would go because our family was fancy. After she got baptized, we went to the Sizzler. Do you have that here? Do you have the Sizzler? Come on. The Sizzler is amazing, and it's so bad for you. So I live in LA now. You would never go to the Sizzler. Like that's something better to kill a puppy than like go to the Sizzler if you live in Los Angeles. So probably actually in Los Angeles, both of those are pretty bad. But better to be a Christian than to do those things. So anyway, so we went to the Sizzler, and I don't know how the Sizzler. Do you have that here? Is it right? So I don't know how the Sizzler works in Australia. I'm sure it's way better. But in America, when you go to the Sizzler and you get a kids meal, you get a Twinkie. Do you have those here? Oh man, that's the one thing that makes us better than you. It's the only thing, right? A Twinkie is, a Twinkie is this amazing, delicious, golden, fluffy treat that has absolutely no organic properties whatsoever. Nothing died to make a Twinkie, okay? It was made in a lab by people who hate you. And this is a true story. When I was in junior high, I would come, like I was in like grade, what would junior high be? Grade 7? Was that grade 7, whatever? I would come home from school early. Mom and Dad hadn't got home yet. And we had a little bench press in the basement. And I'd watch Saved by the Bell. And during the commercial breaks, I would do some reps. And then afterwards, I would pound a Twinkie, which is ridiculous. So we're at the Sizzler, and I got this Twinkie, but I'm like 4 or 5 or 6 years old, and they're wrapped in cellophane, and it was like Alcatraz. Like I couldn't figure out how to open the plastic. Remember when you're that age? You couldn't figure out how to open the plastic. So I'm trying to figure out, how am I gonna solve this? My stomach wants the Twinkie, but my fingers they're able to get it out, and I'm surrounded by all these people. And so, like, obviously the thing to do, I'm surrounded by, like, my sister and my parents and my grandparents are there. I think aunts and uncles are there. It's like this huge celebration for Amanda getting baptized. Side note, you know how many people came to my baptism? Nobody, right? So everyone loves Amanda, so we're doing this thing. So I think actually probably this is my strategy of sabotaging your special day and your little pink little thing. All right, so I'm looking, I'm like, how can I open this Twinkie package? And I'm getting desperate. My stomach is starting to eat itself, and I'm starting to get hangry. I'm like, because I'm not going to eat the steak. That comes later. Twinkie first. And I look and I see a steak knife. And I think, that'll work. So I hold, and I don't know if you know this, but like steak knives cut plastic really well. But I held the Twinkie like this. And then it was like a Quentin Tarantino film. I was like, shoo. And it was like a water sprinkler. It was amazing. And my grandfather, who served in World War II, was like, I've got it. And in one foul swoop, he grabbed my finger, grabbed a napkin, was like, shoom. Like it was amazing. He was like Superman. It was like super speed. It was fantastic. And there's like splattered stuff all over my sister's pink dress. I was having a ball. It was the best day of my life. And I remember driving to the hospital thinking, why did I do that? I was thinking in my head, why did I do that? And then, of course, my parents, because they loved me, said to me out loud, why did you do that? And I gave the answer that children have been giving since the beginning of time. What is it? I don't know. And here's the thing, you would think when you're a kid, why did you do that? I don't know. And then when you get older, it's the same thing. We think we got smarter, we don't. And it's like, hey, why did you say that to that? Why did you do, why at work, why did you? And it's like, why did you? And we say, I don't know. Because the human spirit is a mystery, and the scriptures have been affirming this for thousands of years. In fact, is it Proverbs chapter 20, if you can put it on the screen, Proverbs chapter 20, verse 5, there's this beautiful scripture. It says, the purposes of a person's heart are deep waters. The purpose of a person's heart are deep waters. It's essentially saying like it's vast, it's deep, it's mysterious. There's all these things going on inside us we don't always know, right? In fact, anybody ever been to a water park? Do they have those? You have water parks here? Right, okay, I love water parks. They're fantastic. They always have the dumbest names. Have you ever noticed that before? Water parks are fascinating. They either sound like something you're not supposed to watch late at night on television, or they sound like a total exaggeration. Just a quick, like what are some of the water parks here? Did you say Wet and Wild? Yeah, that's the late night TV one. It's like, it's like, I don't know. Like your 14-year-old daughter's like, hey, you're like, where are you going? I'm going to Wet and Wild. No, you're not. No, you're not. And it's not even like not until you're older kind of thing. It's like not ever. You're never going to either of those places. What was some other ones? Say it again. Adventure World. That's awesome. Like total exaggeration, right? Adventure World. And here's my thing. Why didn't they just go big? Like universe. Or why pick the world? Let's come on, be creative, right? What are some other ones? That's and that's it. Okay, great. So my sister and I grew up in Kansas City, so Kansas City is in the middle of the country in America, and there was a water park there called Oceans of Fun. Okay, now we were about 5,000 miles from any ocean, so what you can know is that it wasn't Oceans of Fun. It was more like Puddles of Fun. Right, and because the average age of the person who goes there is like 7, it was more like toilets of fun, right? It's disgusting. You ever like do like the Typhoon Lagoon and the wave comes and you swallow the water and you're like, yep, yeah, that's disgusting. Probably still healthier than a Twinkie though, for being real. There was organic material in there. But every amusement park, every ocean park has this ride called the Lazy River. All the parents are like, yes. It's like, yes, that's fantastic, right? Here's how if you don't know, here's how the Lazy River works. You get in an inner tube and you sit in it, and that's it. and what happens is the water takes you in a circle forever. And it is the best. Now, here's the thing. How does the water do that? Is it like witchcraft? Is like Rafiki there? And he's like, and all of a sudden the water starts going in a circle? No, like how does the water do it? Do you know? Yeah. I say, what is it? There's jets. Yeah, so beneath the surface of the water, there are jets taking you in a certain direction, whether you want to go that way or not. And what we've discovered is that the human heart is exactly like that. And that's what this passage is saying in Proverbs chapter 20, that the wells of the human heart are deep, which means beneath the waters of the human heart are jets taking your life in a certain direction, whether you want to go that way or not. And here's the thing that's interesting about this. How many of you have ever made or tried to make, let's say, a New Year's resolution? Raise your hand. Any New Year's resolutions, people? Have you ever tried to make or made a New Year's resolution and it didn't work? Yeah, isn't that fascinating? Or how many of you have ever tried to lead change in an organization or make a change in your life and it just felt like you were swimming upstream? Anybody ever have that experience before? Anybody ever try to change a marriage, change a family, change an organization, change yourself, and it feels like there's this invisible force working against you to make the kind of changes that you want to make? And because the human heart is mysterious, that there's actually things going on beneath the surface of our lives that are taking our lives, that are taking our organizations in a certain direction, whether we realize it or not. That's where we do things that we don't want to do, and the things that we do, we don't, I can never get that right. Things that we do, we don't want to do, and things we don't want to do, we find ourselves doing. All right, I got it, right? Does that make sense? And so what I want to do this evening is I want to walk through 4 jets that are beneath the heart of every human being, that if you can begin to identify, you can begin to change the trajectory of the jet to create new results in our lives. Sound good? Okay, fantastic. So the first jet, we're gonna put on the screen here. The first jet is called Look Good. Everybody say, look good. So every human being has this innate need to look good. And here's how we know that is because every person in this room, everyone here's got different fashion, different style, different kind of a way of dressing. But here's what I know. All of you got dressed on purpose, right? There's no one in this place who got dressed and they looked and they're like, that looks awful. Let's do this, all right? All of us are like, I mean, maybe some of us were like, nah, I guess this is as good as it gets tonight, this kind of thing. But most of us are like, you check the hair, you put on the things are matching, things are flowing. You like it's on purpose, right? Because we all want to look good. And this, which is innocuous, like who cares how you dress? But let's say, have you ever been like, maybe remember when you were in uni and you're walking across campus? Has anyone ever been walking in a public space and then you tripped? Has anyone ever had that experience before? Right? And immediately after you trip, what do? Yeah, you look around, right? Isn't that interesting? Now, is there a biological correlation between you losing your center of gravity and turning your head from side to side? Some of you are like, what? Yeah, no, there's no correlation between you losing your center of gravity and you moving your head to side. Why do we look? Because we want to see if somebody saw us. Now, if somebody saw us, does it change anything about what happened? No. So why do we look? Because it changes our experience of what happens because we want to look good. Now, you think that shows up in your life ever? Right? You think it shows up in leadership ever? You think that shows up in companies or organizations ever? Oh, yeah, right? And I want to do a little experiment with you, kind of explore this a little bit. All right, you ready? So what I want to do is, I love doing this. This is so much fun. You guys are going to hate me for a second, but it's going to be great. All right, so what I want to do is I want to invite everybody in the room to commit to doing something before I tell you what it is. Drop the mic. I don't know, it's great. Yeah, Obama out, kind of thing, right? Yeah, I want to invite you, so just be clear, I want to invite you to commit to doing something before I tell you what it is. And here's how I know that you're committed, is I'm just going to invite you to stand. So don't do it yet. So if you're willing to, I've done this all over the world. I've done this with all sorts of people. I've done this with people who are like old people, young people, round ones, short ones, some as big as your head, like whatever. Like I've done it with all sorts of, a little bit of a little Lion King action there. I've got a bunch of coconuts. Okay, great. So I've done it with all sorts of people, and I can promise you, not a single person who's committed to doing it has ever regretted it, ever. But people who haven't stood have regretted it before. But you do whatever you want, okay? So on the count of three, I'm gonna invite you to stand if you're willing to commit to doing the thing before I tell you what it is. 1, 2, 3. Go ahead. Go ahead and stand up. If you're willing to commit, you don't have to, that's no problem. Go ahead and stand up if you're willing to commit to doing the thing. By the way, this is how you start a cult. So congratulations. You're all doing fine. Now, I want you to look, make some eye contact with people next to you, get a nice social accountability going, like a nice social lather. We get the shame going, just all sorts of healthy things. Yeah, fantastic. I never asked you to talk to each other. No, I love it. You can talk, that's all right. You're doing great, you're doing great. Maybe if you're here and you're single and you're kind of like, oh, well, hello. I see that you make bad decisions as well. Maybe we could go after and make some bad decisions together. This kind of thing. Whoa, I got a little, I went dark. Okay, great. So I want you to have a seat. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I would like for you, this is a thing. I'm gonna invite you to do a dangerous thing when a speaker is speaking, especially when they're boring. I'm gonna invite you to close your eyes just for a second. I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to imagine in a world going to Target with your children. You have that here? You have Target? Okay. All right. Going to Target. And imagine in Target you see a young girl who's maybe 2 or 3 years old, and she is going absolutely crazy. Can you imagine that in your wildest dreams? You can imagine that wonderful, beautiful, sweet 2-year-old just going crazy. So what I'm going to invite you to do is on the count of 3, I'm going to invite you to open your eyes, and then with everyone here, I want to invite you to go absolutely, positively, 100%, mommy, why won't you buy that candy for me? Crazy. on the count of 3. Yeah, some of us are already, yeah, okay. This is when people start opening their eyes and they're like, I hate you. I hate you. I want to take a picture, actually. This is going to be great. Very good. You guys are fantastic. All right. Let's get some video up. This is going to be great. Okay. So, on the count of 3. 1. 2. 2.5. Now remember, you promised. You stood before God like a Baptist on a wedding day. You stood up and you promised to do whatever it was I said you were going to do. 2 3/4. I don't know what comes after 2 3/4. My dad's a math teacher. All right, now very, very slowly, very slowly, very slowly. A lot of you already opened your eyes. Very slowly, open your eyes, very slowly, very slowly. I'm not gonna make you go crazy. Okay, but in our work, we call that a punctuated emotional response. Okay, what we do is we create these moments because most people don't realize that they have the jets until we invite them to experience what allows them to experience the jets. So just real quick, I know it's a big room, but real quick, I want you to talk to me real quick. What was that like for you? What was it like for you, that process for you? Yeah, just so some of you were like excited. You're ready to be like, yeah, I'm ready to go. I was born for this. I was born for this. I have cats. I knit. I am ready. I am ready. Yeah, fantastic. Great. I'm with you. I didn't have my first kiss till I was out of college. We're together. Okay, that's great. It's the best $5 I ever spent. All right, so no, I'm kidding. It was way less than that. All right, so. What else was the experience like for you? Uncomfortable. Yeah, great. How many of you said it was uncomfortable? A few people are like feeling it, right? Okay, what else? What was going on in your head? Yeah, how many of you are like, why did I stand? Why do I do the things that I do? And the things that I don't do, I want to do. Yeah, great. That's fantastic. So, anybody else? Yeah. Okay, great. I don't know what that means, but that's great. That's wonderful. I'm in love with you, and I don't care who knows it. That's great. Good. Did anybody, just moment of truth, did anybody think like, I'm not doing that? Yeah, a few of you have no integrity? Great. Okay, so that's great. Yeah, no, you're doing great. Okay, that's great. Did anybody like wonder if they were going to be the only one? Doing it, quick show of hands, if you're like wondering, am I going to be the only one? Look around, by the way. I always think that's so ironic when like half the room is like, I was afraid I was going to be the only one. You're not alone. You're not the only one wondering that. You may have been the only one who's gonna do it, but you're not the only one wondering if you're gonna be the only one who's gonna do it, right? Or this is my favorite, any of you have like a strategy of like volumes of crazy? Like you're gonna kind of open your eyes and go like, kind of a thing. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing because here's what we discover. Most of the time, we don't realize the forces that govern our lives. In fact, there's an Italian neurophysiologist named Antonio Damasio, and he talks about this phenomenon called somatic markers. And somatic markers are these markers that exist in your brain that keep you from doing certain things. There's a little markers, almost like a governor on a car to keep you from going fast, right? Or on a go-kart or whatever. There's these boundaries we place on ourselves that keep us trapped in this kind of space. It's like a manageable middle, right? And you don't realize you have it until you bump up against it, just like you don't realize you have a governor until you try to go fast. Make sense? I remember one time I was flying, I was going someplace for work, and I was sitting there, and I was sitting next to this lovely young lady, and she's a CEO, and we started making small talk, and she goes, so Jason, what is it that all CEOs have in common that you could tell me that I can help myself work through? I said, oh, that's easy. They're all cowards. And then she like a British nanny from Downton Abbey, she got all flushed. She's like, blah, 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 blah. She was like, well, I'm not a coward. And I said, well, great, then we would never work together. And that's when I realized I needed a better biz development strategy. Right? But here's the thing, it is true. Your life, my life, one of the few things human beings have in common is all of our lives are ruled by fear. And we just don't realize it until we bump up against the boundaries of it, because all of us have this need to, what is it? Look good, all right? Look good. So that's the first jet. Everyone say it? Look good. The second jet is like it. It's called feel good. Everyone say feel good. Just like James Brown, I feel good. I'm right. Oh, that's nice. Yeah. You were like getting into it. I appreciate that. I feel connected to you. It's great. I'm afraid of intimacy though. Stop it. All right, so I like to make friends. All right, so that's great. So with feel good, let's see. Every human being has this propensity to want to feel good. And here's the thing. We want to feel good. Do we want to feel good later? No, that's boring. We want to feel good when? now. I want to feel good now. And there's also, have you ever noticed that you make choices to feel good now that have long-term consequences? Hashtag credit cards. Right? Hashtag college or uni, right? And there's all sorts of and there's like the stereotypical things like drugs, sex, rock and roll, all those kind of things that like keep it in the way. But how about just like simple things like Netflix? Right? Anybody ever been like, I've got really important things to do. I got things that could change my life. I got things that could open up my world, just like the movie Aladdin taught us to. And it would be amazing. But you know what? I'd rather just watch Aladdin. You know, that kind of thing. Or I'd rather watch movies about people seizing their dreams. You know, I'll watch, Dead Poet Society instead of actually, investing in children, kind of thing, right? Because we have this capacity, we want to feel. In fact, for me, the big thing I love is Instagram. I love Instagram. Is anyone with me on that? Am I alone? Is this gonna be a lonely night for me? Yeah, I love Instagram the way Kanye loves Kanye. I do. Which is a lot. It's impossible to love something more than the way Kanye loves Kanye. That's fantastic. I like when I post a picture, I watch like the like count go up, like the way the Wolf of Wall Street watches the stock exchange. It's real. It's a problem, right? And for me, it's fascinating. Like I want to feel good now, and they've done research on social media. Nothing wrong with social media, but they've done research on social media that whenever you get a like or a retweet or whatever, it releases endorphins. The same way doing a lot of other things that feel good do, right? And you actually can develop a chemical addiction to that kind of process. It's really, really fascinating. And what happens is, I don't know if you've ever experienced this before, but what happens is, you'll be like hanging out. Have you ever been like having dinner with like a loved one, and then like there's a lull in the conversation for like 2 seconds, and then what do people do? Oh yeah, we reach for the gram. Right? Or I'll be like doing something, writing something or creating something, and I'll have like 1 second of blank space, and I reach for the gram. And it's fascinating the things that we go to feel good now. Are you with me? And maybe it's social media. I mean, sometimes it's innocuous to social media. Sometimes it can get pretty dark pretty fast, and I won't necessarily give examples tonight, but you know what I'm talking about. We have these things beneath the surface of the water, and here's the deal. Nobody knows how much I look at Instagram, just like no one knows what you're looking at on the internet or whatever. It's this thing that's a secret, it's private. And until I downloaded this app that gave me an audit for how often I use my phone, oh man, that was painful. All right, this is a true story. I did an audit, and it told me that I looked at Instagram 10 hours a week. And before you judge, download the app. It's amazing. And then actually, just to say this is fantastic, there's actually an app, if you have an Android or iPhone, there's an app called the Freedom app. And it is life-changing. And what it does is you can block whatever apps on your phone you want for as short or as long amount of time as you want. Like shameless plug. I don't own stock, but I should buy stock because I think it's the coolest thing in the world, which means like if you're getting up, if you're a creative, if you're a business person, whatever, and you're getting up in the morning and you want to like not be on the gram for the day, you can just put Instagram, boom, block for 8 hours, done. And there's no way you can access it. It's the sexiest thing I've ever seen. I live in Los Angeles, so that's saying something, right? It's amazing because every human being has this propensity to look good and feel good. Everyone say feel good. All right, so the next one is my personal favorite. The next one's called be right. Everyone say be right. That's my favorite. Even just saying it feels good, doesn't it? It just feels good. By the way, just as an aside, more than sex, more than heroin, the human brain loves being right. It's not a joke. I mean, I suppose we're having a good time and I get it, but it's a real thing. Like the human brain craves rightness more than anything else. It's a fascinating thing. It's not a bad thing necessarily, but it is when it gets in your way, right? And my favorite example of this is, so imagine you've got a family and there's like parents, and imagine you've got like a 17-year-old kid. We're gonna call him Tim. That just happened on accident, but this is gonna be fun. All right, so we got a 17-year-old named Tim, and let's pretend in your wildest dreams, this doesn't sound like you, but let's pretend in your wildest dreams, 17-year-old Tim comes home late often. Can you imagine that in your wildest dreams, a 17-year-old coming home late, right? And mom and dad saying, hey, curfew, and he breaks curfew or whatever. Can you imagine that in your wildest dreams? Are we together? Okay, great. So imagine mom and dad go to some kind of boundaries class and they learn how to like set boundaries for their children. And they come back and they say, Tim, and Tim's like, sure, whatever. And they say, because that's gonna be my impersonation of a 17-year-old for the next 5 minutes. It's gonna be like this, okay, right? So bear with me. They're like, Tim, he's like, hi. And they're like, your curfew is at 11 o'clock p.m. And he's like, fine, whatever, I don't care. And they're like, no, Tim, because they went to the boundaries class, they're like, repeat after me, when's your curfew? And they're like, 11, like, I care, I don't care. And they're like, okay, good. So you got it? And he said, yeah. And then they set up consequences, right? They say, if you come home past 11, we're gonna take away the keys to the car. And he's like, so Tim? And he's like, come home past 11, take keys to the car. I was like, got it, right? So they send Tim off. And so mom and dad are home, they're watching TV, whatever. And it's like 7 o'clock, all's well, right? 8 o'clock, all's well. 9 o'clock, all's well. Imagine it's like 10:30, and mom and dad are kind of like fidgeting a little bit, right? They're watching the TV. We're not really watching the TV. Dad's still like clamoring at an empty bowl of popcorn, kind of a thing. Mom's like drinking a glass with the ice and there's nothing in it, kind of deal, right? And then it's 10:45, and then it's 10:55. And then at 10:59, can you imagine your wildest dreams? The door unlocking and Tim like sauntering in, throwing the keys on the table, right? And here's the thing, can you imagine in a million years, all the parents in the room, I'm sure you're great, perfect, great, whatever, but can you imagine a parent in a million years looking at their son and going, cutting a little close, don't you think? How old are you? Okay, yeah. That was amazing. I thought, you sound young. I thought I was like a 17-year-old be like, yes! Yeah. Give us Barabbas, kind of thing. So that joke actually makes no sense if you think about it. It's just fun to say. So you can imagine in your wildest dreams that moment happening, right? Now, in that moment, did Tim do anything wrong? No. In fact, in our work, we talk about integrity, and integrity is keeping 100% of your commitments. What percent of his commitments did he keep? 100%. Then why are mom and dad treating him that way? That's right, because sometimes we would rather be right about people than in relationship with people, right? And there's this jet going on under the surface of the water where we're committed more to being right about our opinions of others than being in relationship with them. And it's like a prison, right? It's like a barbed wire blanket, right? It keeps you warm, but don't move because it'll cut you. And it's the same thing with look good. Everyone say look good, look good. The second one is feel good. The third one is be right. And the last one, last but not least, is called be in control. Oh, this one feels good too. Be in control. Every human being has this innate need, this innate desire to be in control. This is my favorite analogy for this. So have you ever been driving someplace and you're late? Like Tim. Not you, but the kid. This is where I should have picked a different name. All right, so you've ever been late? Like the 17-year-old, right? You're late, and in America, when we're late, we speed. Here, you've got cameras everywhere. It's like 1984, and it's my least favorite part of your country because I'm like, oh, God. I just want to roll the windows down and put on Journey and feel the breeze. And I can do that if I want to pay $500. It's no problem. So you imagine your wildest dreams, you're late, and so you're speeding to work, or you're speeding home, or you're doing whatever, like you're trying to get there. And on the horizon, like it's a flat road, on the horizon, you see a red light. You ever that happen before? And here's the thing, atheist, agnostic, Buddhist, Baptist, doesn't matter. Every person, oftentimes when they're late and they're coming up and they're driving fast and they're coming up on a red light, they start talking to somebody. And it sounds like this. Come on. Come on. Turn, baby, turn. Turn. And I think I can't verify this with statistics, but I think guys more than ladies are more likely to do this. How many of you don't slow down sometimes? You know what I'm talking about? You're like, I got this. I got this. Like you're James Bond. Right? It's like, I got this. It's gonna, and you're kind of like, come on, turn, baby, turn. How many of you have the experience when at the last second you don't even let off, and your girlfriend's in the car, she's like, ah, kind of thing. And at the last second it goes from red to green, and you just careen through the intersection. And in that moment you're like, yeah, right? In that moment you're like, I'm awesome, right? In that moment, did you do anything? No. Your little putting out in the universe vision board crap, that don't work. Okay? The secret is not real, all right? You did nothing. All your little, yeah, do it. No, you can't change electricity by you thinking about things, okay? Because human beings, we love to assume that we have control over things we do not have control over. We love doing that. In fact, how many of you, just a quick show of hands, how many of you in the last week have spent time worrying about something that is completely outside your control? Isn't that fascinating? Yeah, me too. I mean, we might as well just call that a hobby. Right? Sometimes, every now, by the way, just so you know, as a Riverview family, when anyone is a guest speaker, we are treated so well by you. The people who run this organization treat you so well, and it's beautiful. And I've been asked probably like 13 times over the last 12 hours if I want a cup of coffee. And here's the thing about that. Whenever anyone, I don't drink, for the record, I don't drink coffee, right? That's what anxiety's for. Okay, I've got a permanent supply, right? Giving me coffee would be like strapping a car to a rocket ship. Like, it's not gonna do anything, right? It's only gonna slow me down, right? Kind of a thing, right? But I love to worry. In fact, I'm convinced that the greatest sin of our time isn't pornography or drugs, it's anxiety. It's that Jesus had way more to say about anxiety, and I can't help but think that maybe if we focus more on anxiety, maybe our other things would kind of start to take care of themselves. Is we love worrying about things that are completely outside of our control. In fact, and this is just fun, it's a little aside. How many of you like exist in kind of like middle management of a company, and you spend a lot of time worrying about how bad the boss is, but not a lot of time worrying about your performance? Is that a little too close to home? Right? How many of you like have had listen to other people? Not you, because you're great, you're hard workers. Having you listen to other people talk about what so-and-so should be doing, and so-and-so, blah, 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 and they're like, they can't even do their jobs, but they think they can do the boss's job. That's adorable, right? And here's the thing, any amount of time you spend obsessing over something that's outside your control, you are abdicating responsibility for something inside your control. That in any given moment, when we're worrying about something that's completely outside our control, we are absolutely abdicating something that's inside our control because it feels good, and because we love to be right, and because being right looks good. And here's what's crazy about that is when we're obsessing over things outside our control and we're worrying about things, anxiety, one of my mentors said that anxiety is investing in a future you don't want. It's emotionally investing in a future that you don't want. And actually, in a weird kind of way, it actually feels good to do that, right? So what was the first thing? Did I lose you? All of you are thinking about, am I abdicating control for things? Am I really that bad of a person? Yes. This morning was the massage. It's like, you're amazing, you have potential. Tonight it's like, no. No. So what was the first thing? Look good. Second thing, feel good. Third thing, be right. Fourth thing, be in control. Now here's how this works. And I've been messing up with the guys in the back are troopers because I've been screwing with them all night going out of order, right? One of my favorite Psalms is Psalm 139. And it talks about this process, and it says this. It says, search me, O God, and know my heart, and test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way of everlasting, right? It's just this beautiful idea of a healthy community. First of all, have you ever taken a personality assessment of some kind? Yeah, right, those are cool. And those are kind of a modern invention, personality assessments. They've really been around like the last 50 years. It's kind of a neat thing. In the ancient world, personality assessments were called community. And the healthier community you had, the more aware you were of yourself in relation to other people. And over time, we've gotten worse at community. And so we've created systems and tools to know what we're really like because other people won't be honest with us. It's kind of a fascinating thing. And I love tools. I'm certified in like 5 of them. It's great. So, go take the Strengths Finder. It's great. But aside from that, there's this propensity for community to not ask this question, be like, what's running me? Am I running my life, or is my life running me? And then there's these justice, look good, feel good, be right, be in control, that's beneath the surface. And I promise you, it is taking your life in a certain direction, whether you want to or not. So what do we do? And you're gonna love this. I love this so much. There's the wonderful solution is, so what do you think is the opposite of looking good? Look bad, look stupid, look foolish. What's the opposite of feeling good? That's right, feel bad, right? What's the opposite of being right? Be wrong. What's the opposite of being in control? Be out of control. Now, I want to be careful about this one because it's like, yeah, be out of control. and how I want you to understand this is it's about being vulnerable. It's about putting yourself in circumstances that are beyond your control. It's about stepping into the unknown. It's Abraham going, what we talked about this morning, Abraham going from Haran to Canaan, right? He was stepping outside of his locus of control. It was vulnerable. He's exposing himself to risk, exposing himself to pain, exposing himself to the possibility of rejection or whatever, right? And that's the journey that God wants to lead us in. Is he wants to lead us into where we are strong enough to look stupid. We are strong enough to hurt in the short term. Where for the fool, by the way, the fool chooses pleasure in the short term at long-term expense. The wise person flips it. They choose suffering in the short term for long-term benefit, right? And if we can create communities where we're willing to choose a short-term pain, where we're willing to look stupid in the short term, when we're willing to be wrong about what we think we know about the world, each other, even about God, and when we're willing to be vulnerable and step outside of our locus of control, then amazing things start to happen. This is always a weird story to tell, but I got to be in the same room with Arnold Schwarzenegger a while ago. Okay, great. I don't know why I keep asking that. I did it this morning with Christmas. All right, yeah. So I got to be in the same room with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he was giving a talk called The 7 Secrets to His Success, and it was hilarious. The first secret was marry a Kennedy, which is sadly ironic considering that he didn't do that very well. But anyway, and he talked about how when he moved to the States, he's Austrian, I believe, and he was a bodybuilder, and he moved to the States to make it and to be an actor. And he would audition for roles, and people would be like, I can't understand you, right? He's like, your accent, and he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, next, kind of a thing. And he tried everything. He took English lessons, right? He took classes, he can't even, he was a governor of California, he couldn't even say the name, California, whatever, right? So then all of a sudden one day it dawned on him, and he's like, no, don't you understand? And everyone was telling him, by the way, you can't do this. You will never be successful. You will never be successful as an actor because in order to be an American actor, you have to speak English, right? And all of a sudden it dawned on him that the thing that everyone was saying was a liability was actually a strength. And he started looking for scripts that had iconic lines in it that his accent would lend distinction to, rather than people being like, I can't understand you. So think about some of the movies he's been in, like Kindergarten Cop, right? It's not a tumor, right? Come with me if you want to live, right? Everybody freeze, all this kind of stuff. I mean, if Tom Cruise or Bruce Willis or whatever were saying those things, no one would care. But because he had this thick European accent, people were like, it's amazing, and it pushed the box office, and he found a way to take the very thing that everyone said was a weakness and turned it into a strength. And he was willing to look stupid. He was willing to be wrong. He was willing to choose pain in the short term. He was willing to be wrong about what everyone said was right about acting. And he was willing to be vulnerable, exposing the possibilities of pursuing a career in this whole thing. And then, of course, he went on to become one of the greatest movie stars in the world. The way you get to do things that other people say can't be done is by willing to try other things people aren't willing to try. You have to be willing to look stupid. You got to be willing to feel the burn. You got to be willing to be wrong about what you think is possible. And you got to be willing to be vulnerable. And I love this conversation because as we get to search our hearts, as we invite God to search our hearts, we get to explore the things that hold us back and leverage them actually to push us forward. And then what begins to happen is just like in the beginning where it's like, when we do things, we're like, why did I do that? I can't believe I did that. Right? At the end, if we're willing to move through the pain, if we're willing to look foolish, if we're willing to move and redesign our jets, we shift from, I can't believe I did that, to I can't believe I get to do this. And it's been a pleasure being with you this weekend. And I'm so in love with your community and so hopeful of your future. And I cannot wait for this community to continue to be a gift to Perth and the world. And I just want to pray a blessing over that. May you, as you connect to God, and as you follow him, and as you take risks, and you step into the unknown, and that you will over and over and over again say, I can't believe we get to do this. I can't believe we get to do this. I can't believe we get to do this. Let's pray. God, even in this moment, God, would you show us where we're trying to look good? Show us where we're trying to feel good. Show us where we're trying to be right, and where we're trying to be in control in ways that are outside what you have for us. And God, may you lead us into those deep waters. It says the understanding man draws it out. May you make us understanding men and women. May you make us people of wisdom, that we could understand the jets that are shaping our lives, that we may redesign them to step into something beautiful and noble for you. We love you. In the name of Jesus I pray. Amen. Thanks, everybody.